Today I want to compare two of the greatest bodybuilders who ever lived, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Dorian Yates. And not just who was bigger or who won more titles, but who was actually right about building muscle. Because these two men didn't just look different, they represented different philosophies, different eras, and also two different costs. And there is a key question that I want to keep in mind during this video. Which approach worked the best? Not for genetic freaks, but for the real human beings. For the ones who are new to my channel, I am Dr. Nash Yates, former bodybuilding champion. I have been in bodybuilding for over 40 years, competed 46 times and won 17 titles. During that time, I have personally advised and trained over 3,500 clients and helped them to get in the best shape of their lives. Also, I have published 12 ebooks for you, which are fully loaded with detailed information about everything you wanted to know about bodybuilding. Things like muscle growth, training systems, training splits, number of sets, number of reps, fat loss, nutrition, lifestyle change, and much, much more. So if you're interested in expanding your knowledge and widening your horizons, please click that link below in the comments and you can access my ebooks. Let us start with the obvious, physique. Arnold's body was about shape, width, flow, proportion, and you notice his chest, his arms, shoulders, the whole picture. Dorian physiques was different. It wasn't about flow, it was about density, thickness, grain, and especially the back. Arnold looked like a statue. Dorian looked like a tank. And this difference alone changed bodybuilding forever. And this is something that most people miss. Arnold's physique literally invited admiration. Dorian's physique demanded respect. And this distinction matters. So let me tell you a few words about their training philosophy, basically the difference between the volume and intensity. So let me start first with Arnold. And this is where the real divide begins, actually. So when it comes to Arnold's training and his philosophy, obviously, Arnold trained with high volume. Arnold trained with high number of exercises with multiple sets. And as you know, he did usually around 25 sets per muscle group, most of the time twice per week. So this is quite a lot of volume. So in order to perform that, Arnold didn't go all out with that last rep to failure when you simply cannot move further. He always trained literally, at least most of the time, shy of failure for a rep or two. And this allowed him to train with not much higher number of sets and also reps. So his training sessions were much longer because of that. This type of training obviously worked for Arnold. Many people tried to do the same in his days, but they couldn't. Arnold was absolutely exceptional when it comes to his ability to recover. But bear in mind that Arnold also enjoyed his workouts. He was literally living and breathing bodybuilding all day long. When it comes to Dorian's training philosophy, it was very different. Dorian trained with low volume. He would always do that one all-out set in every exercise. He would pyramid the weights up to the last set that he counted as the most important, and that would be one all-out set. That set was always performed with extreme intensity. Dorian used force reps, negative, and always went to absolute failure, or as I like to say, beyond failure, beyond positive failure. So this wasn't just training, this was absolutely controlled violence. But it worked. So let me tell you a few words about who could actually train this way. This is critical. Arnold's training was scalable. Most of people could have adapted it and adjusted to the point, modified slightly his training methods, and still survive. Dorian's training was binary. You either recover or you break. You grow or you stall. So what happened? Arnold, because of his high volume training and also staying shy of failure in most of his sets, Arnold was able to train like this for the rest of his life. And lots of people who pursue this type of training, volume training, higher number of sets, higher number of reps, they are usually able to continue training like this for the rest of their lives, even after their professional bodybuilding career. Most of them done it. Lots of professional bodybuilders did it exactly as Arnold did, modified it, but they kept a high volume, anywhere from 25, 30 sets per large muscle groups. And people in golden era, they all did it. Sergio Oliva did it, Franco Colombo did it, Serge Nubre did it, many others. Albert Beckles, Dave Draper, Roy Callender, Lee Haney, and you name it. Even the newer stars of professional bodybuilding, like for example, Ronnie Coleman did the same thing. Then Jay Cutler did it. Also Phil Heath, and most of these guys who followed high volume workout as Arnold started it, they were able to continue to train like that even after they have finished their professional careers. Phil Heath looks great, still great shape, reasonably big. Jay Cutler also looks great, reasonably big, not as he was big in the past, but he's there, he's training fully, no problem. You can see Jay, you can see Phil Heath, you can see many others. You can see Robbie Robinson in his 80s now, who is training high volume without any problem. Now, this is what this type of training will offer. Now, when it comes to Dorian, that is very different story. So what happened to Dorian? Because of his super high intensity approach, Dorian had sustained many different injuries, and they were serious injuries. He has torn his biceps, triceps. He also torn his hip. He had lots of problems with his shoulders, chronic joint issues, and Dorian himself paid, unfortunately, a big price for that. I personally believe that if he didn't train that way, that he would be able to continue and probably win few more titles. But this was Dorian. This was his approach. This is what Dorian felt is the best for him. It was fantastic for him. He won 6 Mr. Olympias. He brought something completely different to bodybuilding world. His size, his thickness, density, not to mention his conditioning. So basically Dorian offered everything. But his training system was also detrimental for his health. When I say health, I don't say about his overall health, but also I'm talking about lots of injuries, which actually do not allow him now to train with weights. Most of the exercises he cannot do. This is why he is performing different type of exercises nowadays, cycling, stretching, Pilates, yoga, but he can't really do bodybuilding workouts anymore. So this doesn't make him wrong. It just make his approach very high risk. So how many people have copied Dorian training system? Not many. I cannot recall one professional bodybuilder who trained like Dorian Yates. So this is something that you should bear in mind. This is very important when we talk about the differences between Arnold's training philosophy and Dorian's training philosophy. Now let me tell you a few words about nutritional recovery. Arnold came from an era of much simpler foods, much fewer supplements, very few steroids. The choice of steroids was maybe a quarter or fifth of what people have today. Also, Arnold didn't use insulin. Arnold didn't use growth hormone. These are very powerful compounds which actually help you put much more muscle. And these things Arnold simply didn't have. So food that Arnold and also others in golden era had to eat was very different because of these different compounds. Arnold ate predominantly protein, some fats, relatively low carbs. Before the show, no carbs at all, because this was the only way that Arnold could have prepared himself for the show and get in shape. Now, today, people are eating much more carbohydrates because they are regularly using insulin, which is a very, very dangerous compound. And, it can cause insulin resistance, step away from diabetes type 2. Also, insulin nowadays increases midsection, causes that extended guts, extended bubble guts, as they call them. You've seen it. Many professional bodybuilders have that problem. Dorian also had that problem. So Dorian never had very tiny waist. Maybe in the beginning, but even then, it wasn't as small as, for example, people in golden era. And I believe that the main reason for that was huge amount of insulin and also growth hormone that Dorian has used, and also people from 90s, not just Dorian, probably every single one, because he set the standard. And if you want to compete against Dorian, you have to follow the standards. So Dorian era was very different. Dorian's era was obviously, as I mentioned, more carbohydrates, more supplementation. People in 90s had so many different steroids and other compounds which would allow them to recover faster, and also they had much less margin for error, because obviously science is involved much more in training. When people follow Dorian Yates' training philosophy, they don't understand that, first of all, they have to have genetics like Dorian Yates. Second, they have to be able to recover. And third, they also need to understand that training philosophy requires very high intake of steroids, insulin, and growth hormone. And this is where most of the people fail. They train like Dorian Yates. They try to go one all-out set with huge weights. They get injured. They do everything possible. They stress themselves beyond belief, but they still don't change as much, simply because of two main reasons. First, they don't have Dorian's genetics, and second, they don't take as much steroids, insulin, and growth hormone as Dorian has done. Now, let me tell you a few words about my own view in regard to who was better as a bodybuilder, who looked better. Bear in mind, this is my view, it's subjective. It doesn't mean that you have to think the same, but let me tell you my view. So don't forget, then Arnold competed in 70s. So he won straight 5 Mr. Olympia titles from 70 to 75. In 75 he retired, and he came back in 1980. He won again. That was a controversial Mr. Olympia. Some people think that he should not have won, but that's a different subject. Now, the point is that in 70s, Arnold didn't have to go as far, for example, as Dorian Yates had to go, because Arnold didn't have as much competition as Dorian Yates had. So even though Arnold competed in 70s, some of his muscle groups are simply unmatched up to date. For example, Arnold's arms. Nobody even came close to Arnold's shape and size of his arms. Number 2, his chest. Arnold's chest were absolutely from different world. Dorian Yates said that. Ronnie Coleman said that. You can see from these images how Arnold looked. His chest was absolutely unreal. His arms were unreal. His shoulders were huge. His back was probably one of the best in the day, in his day, in 70s. Now, when it comes to his legs were good enough for 70s. So he didn't have to have bigger legs in order to win 5 straight Olympia titles. They were big enough. They were split. His calves were also one of the best in 70s. And what is very important to say is that Arnold actually didn't have that genetics as, for example, Sergio Oliva or Serge Nubre or Frank Zane, for example, because these guys, especially Sergio Oliva, he had unmatched genetics. If you see on these images, Sergio Oliva not only had amazing muscle size, but look at his waist. That waist was like a little girl. He had a very, very small waist, and that contributed to this impressive look. Sergio also had big legs. The problem is that Sergio Oliva was never in good shape. This is why he was losing from Arnold. And also, his double biceps wasn't as good as Arnold. I think his side chest also wasn't as good. And this is something also that I want to point out. For me, there are two main poses, trademark poses in bodybuilding. Number one, double biceps. Without any doubt, without question. Double biceps is a trademark of bodybuilding. When you think of a bodybuilder, you don't see him doing some lat spread or anything like that. You see double biceps. Why? Because this is the pose in which you cannot hide anything. So when you lift your arms up, first of all, the size of your arms, the size of your back, the size of your waist, the size of your legs and calves, everything pops out. You cannot hide anything. And also, which is today's completely forgotten, proportions and symmetry. So double biceps is the number one pose in bodybuilding. And who can ever stand close to Arnold in double biceps pose? My opinion, nobody. Nobody ever stood close to Arnold's double biceps shot. This is number one pose. Number two is side chest. So everything that you cannot see from the double biceps, you will see from the side chest. You're going to see the depth of the chest, the size of the chest. You're going to see the size of the shoulders, obviously arms from the side. When it comes to legs, you can see quads, especially leg biceps, and also calves. So now, who comes close to Arnold in side chest? I mean, the best comment was the honest comment of great Ronnie Coleman, who said that standing next to Arnold in side chest would make me look like a little kid. And he did that in a podcast. I can't remember with who, but you can find it on YouTube. And this is actually what makes Ronnie Coleman great, because he says exactly how it is. Ronnie Coleman in side chest doesn't look very good. Neither does Dorian. Now, Arnold in double biceps and side chest has no competition. Now, when it comes to Dorian looks decent in double biceps, although his waist is a little bit too big, and also his arms are not as good as Arnold's. When it comes to side chest, Dorian doesn't even come close because his chest are not good, and just the whole pose, the depth of the chest is lacking, probably because of training techniques or whatever else. Dorian looks very good when it comes to the back poses, lat spread, double biceps. But bear in mind, Dorian had to get in that shape, to get that grainy look, that quality, in order to beat people in 90s. Arnold didn't have to do it. Arnold did everything that was necessary in order to win 5 straight Olympias in 70s. So this is very important thing to understand. Now, why Arnold had unmatched chest and arms? Was that just genetics? Well, other people had genetics. Even now, every single professional bodybuilder has great genetics, at least 99% of them. So why are they are not building as much muscle as Arnold was doing in 70s? They have more steroids, they have better knowledge, scientific approach, but they are still not doing it. Why? Because the only factor that makes the difference is actually training. So this is where Arnold's training system stays tall. Not only for Arnold, but if you modify that system, you can train that system, as I mentioned, for the rest of your life. You won't get injured, you won't have torn biceps, triceps, shoulders, chest, whatever, as so many people have done from 90s up to date. This is simply wrong attitude, lifting too much, too intense, force reps, negatives, beating your tendons to the ground, and obviously ending up with broken career and obviously broken health, because when your biceps and triceps and shoulders and chest are torn, you're handicapped. There is so many things that you cannot do anymore. So these are serious injuries. What about Dorian Yates and his chest and his arms? Would Dorian be different if he trained differently? I believe so. So maybe something wasn't right with his chest workout, because Dorian built big back, shoulders, legs, everything was there, but chest were not there. So should we say that Dorian didn't have good genetics for chest? I don't think so. I think it was training. When it comes to arms, yes, they were good, they were big, but they were not as shaped as Arnold's. Is that genetic? People always say that is an escape route, or an excuse. But why don't we look at the training system? Arnold trained in certain way, and obviously that allowed him to optimize his genetic potential. I don't think that people who follow heavy duty or Dorian's training philosophy will ever optimize their genetic potential. Again, this is my view. You have right for your own views, and obviously you can simply try and see what happens. Try both different systems, stick to one at least for a year, and see if the changes arrive. So let me answer the question now: who was right when it comes to training philosophy? And this is my honest answer. Arnold was right for most people. Dorian's approach works, first of all, if you have super genetics, if you can recover fully after every single workout, if you accept a high injury risk. So these three things, if you tick all these three boxes, then his training method will work for you. Now, when it comes to Arnold's training philosophy, it's clearly that it builds muscles, preserves joints, obviously your tendons and ligaments will stay intact, also allows for consistency, and because you can train like that forever, and obviously it works long term. And I believe that consistency beats intensity every single time. There is no question about that. I have been in bodybuilding for over 40 years. I've been training ever since the same. I'm training 5 times a week. I do 25 to 30 sets for large muscle groups, 12 to 15 sets for smaller muscle groups. And this has been going on for over 4 decades. I never had any big joint injury, tendon injury, ligament injury, never ever had any issues like that, never missed a single training session. So type of training that I'm doing is more similar to type of training that Arnold was doing, because this is what allows for consistency and obviously pleasure in training, and something that will keep you away from injuries. So if you are interested in consistency and building muscles and keeping them as long as you live and train as long as you possibly can, then Arnold's method will be much better for you, obviously modified. And if you are, again, one of these people who have same genetics, same drive, same acceptance of possible bad injuries, then you may also benefit from Dorian's training philosophy. And let me wrap it up for you. I can say that the biggest problem that modern lifters do is they train for intensity but not for consistency. What is very important is that your training system should be sustainable. Train hard, but also train intelligently. Because goal is not just muscle. The goal is that you're still training decades from now. Let me remind you once again that I have published 12 ebooks for you, which are fully loaded with detailed explanation of everything that you always wanted to know about bodybuilding. Also, I would like you to watch this video in which I offer my other services, the ways that I can personally work with you and help you one-to-one to get in the best shape of your life. So guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. That helps. Also like the video, send me your comments, share the video, and I will see you in the next video.